welcome in everybody to the last episode that I will be posting for the Montreal Expos Draft to Glory. As I mentioned back in episode 38, even though there was no audio, I did mention this. I don't know if I re-mentioned it in episode 39, but I am bringing the Draft to Glory series to an end. It's just not enough interest for me to put a series out there, at least probably 40 to 50 views, and these were getting much less. So won't be giving out any more giveaways after this series is done until I see, the views go up a little bit. And I know the base game isn't for everyone. A lot of people play the perfect team. And that might get a little bit more traction, but I still like doing some of the base game stuff. I do have an idea for another series that I'm going to pick up in a couple weeks, and also have a new series coming to my Twitch channel once I'm done the Babe in the Matrix series, which ends towards the end of November. So again, those of you that have been watching this series on and off, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for supporting me, not only on YouTube, but Twitch as well. But I think we're going to end off this series and look on to some other content that I think might be a little bit creative. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to divide this into two parts. This episode will be part one, where I will, again, have a giveaway a little bit later on for 5 standard packs. And then in about a week time, I'm going to post part 2. And in these couple of parts, we're going to fast sim through the Montreal Expos career. We're going to go many years into the future and see how this team turns out. So I'm going to do a lot of editing. You'll see some of the highlights. You'll see the draft picks every year. You'll see kind of the end of the season standings, any kind of playoff runs that we make. We've won 2 championships, one in 1908 and one in 1918. I'm probably going to sim up to maybe the 1950s, so maybe 30 years into the future, until we get to a point where at least all of the players currently on the team are in a position where they've retired. So probably, maybe up until the 1950s era. And then maybe at some point way into the future, I will do another episode where we'll continue on and sim up to, the 1980s or 90s. All right, we are currently in the 1922 draft. And in this draft, the Montreal Expos pick number 14. So let's get started. And from this point on, you'll see a bunch of different edits as we move forward. It is our pick, and you see the draft log here. Zach Gallen, Daisy Davis, and Jeff Bagwell were the top 3 picks. So Montreal is up right now. Joe Blong is a player that was projected to come to us, and I said if he was there, we were going to take him. He was in the mock draft, number 14. No other player looks appealing to me in terms of potential. We've got Lamar. Again, could be a very good player, 18 years old. Barney, again, looks pretty decent, but it's not often you get these stud pitchers. And if he projects, even if he doesn't completely develop, even if he stayed exactly as he was right now, a 50 stuff, a 75 movement, 75 control with an 80 stamina, he's going to be fantastic. So any bonus we get on this stuff, because this is 1922, will be extra. So Joe Blong, our number 1 pick. Next up, again, second round, we're going to go with, again, I've got it all sorted by potential here, contact potential. Like a lot of contact in this era. We're going to go with Norris Hopper, a multi-purpose outfielder, good contact, good avoid K, not worried about home runs, and he's got some speed. So Norris Hopper will be pick number 2. And then when we get to our third pick, we're going to take, there was a first baseman I was kind of targeting here, Derek Barton. So Derek Barton, fully developed, 20 years old. And again, when we look at his potential, he's not really weak in any of the hitting categories here compared to some of the others still on the board. So we're going to go with Derek Barton. And on opening day, April 1922, we see the top prospect report. Jack Glasscock, Chris Paddock, Daisy Davis, the top three projected prospects in the league. No Montreal Expos currently on the list. However, we are going to be placing a Montreal Expo onto the roster. And if he's not already there, he will be. Mr. Tim Raines is going to be on the team. So that means we have to demote someone. So Marquise Grissom, I'm sorry to say, you have been put back into AAA to make room for Tim Raines' potential, hopefully, Rookie of the Year. We're going to move a few other prospects to different leagues if they're not there already. Go to AA, can stay the same, and then in Rookie, find out if anyone should go up. Oh, Joe Blong, 20 years old. Yeah. Our first overall pick, Pud Galvin, 18 years old now. I think we're going to keep him in Rookie one more year, even though he does want to go up. And Norris Hopper, we're going to move up. I think otherwise we'll keep things the same. So Pud Galvin probably should go to single A, but we don't have a single A league. So we're going to go with this. So this is what your opening day roster will look like. Stratton and Walsh in the pen. We've got Penner, Baldwin, Bushelman, Kevin Brown, and our ace in the bullpen, Dan Collins. In terms of our lineup, we're just going to go with the AI created lineup. Majeski going to hit in the number 9 slot, and you'll see Tim Raines they've got as our second baseman. All right, good luck, Mr. Raines, as we sim to the end of the season. Here are your regular season standings. Just before the playoffs, the Montreal Expos almost with a 500 record, 75 and 79. Disappointing season. But a lot of teams had disappointing seasons. The Philadelphia Phillies edged out the Cardinals in the NL. And over in the AL, that dynasty team, the Washington Senators, would take the AL 2 games over the St. Louis Browns. So that means we have a Browns and a Phillies and a Senators final. Let's quickly play this out. Who is going to take the 1922 World Series? And in a best of 7, it will go once again to the Washington Senators. So again, always want to kind of show you the award winners each year as well, and find out if any of our team were able to take home some of the hardware. Okay, let's check that out. As you can see, the Washington Senators, probably the best dynasty team we've seen so far. The White Sox won 3 in a row, and they were in the World Series 4 out of 5 years, 5 out of 7 years. So they were pretty good dynasty team over in the NL. Don't really see a run by any team, and we've got the Washington Senators now 4 in a row. All right, your award winners. Let's start in the AL. Your MVP. There it is, Dan. 39-year-old Dan Brothers is 10th. 10 MVP awards, and that's why the award is called the Dan Brothers Award. I don't think that's ever going to be surpassed. Jordan Montgomery from the Chicago White Sox, 24-year-old, who was drafted back in the 1920 draft, round 1, 8th overall. He is your Cy Young winner. He is also your Rookie of the Year. Way to go, Jordan. Very rare you get a Cy Young and Rookie of the Year for the same player. And Billy Wagner, his 4th MVP or 4th Reliever of the Year award. All right, heading over to the NL. Does Tim Raines have a shot? No. Christian Yelich is your MVP. He finishes with a .365 average. 27-year-old who was drafted in the 1914 draft, 2nd overall by the Pirates. Your Cy Young winner is Brett Saberhagen, his 2nd of his career, 28-year-old, drafted in 1912, and he was picked 3 overall. Rookie of the Year, Montreal's John Morrill. Not the guy I would have expected to be Rookie of the Year. But I am pleasantly surprised. So he came up in September of last year, and this year finished with a 335 average, 5.6 WAR. Wow. He was drafted in the second round, 14th pick in the second round, 30th overall. Here's a case of a guy that has kind of broken out, and he still has some more developing to go. Look at that speed, only 14 stolen bases, which is a little bit shocking. Thought he would have a little bit more than that. And Dan Collins from Montreal, his second Reliever of the Year award, 18 saves, 6-6 record, and a K rate of 4.6, which back then was probably okay because not a lot of people struck out back then. All right, let's go on to the draft. But before we do that, I guess I should show you some of the individual stats from 1922. Scott Stratton, 25 and 21. Ed Walsh didn't fare as well. And you see our bullpen, again, Dan Collins, outstanding performance. Hitter-wise, in terms of our stats, let's take a look. What do we got going on here? Tim Raines, you're the one I wanted to kind of look at first here. 316 average. So did he get in consideration for Rookie of the Year? No, Player of the Week. He did win the Platinum Stick Award at second base, but was not in the top 3 vote getters for Rookie of the Year. So there you go. You can see the stats here. Whitey Lockman, 311. Nick Markakis, 323. Paul Molitor still going strong, hitting 312. And if we sort by draft year, Joe Sewell, Bo Jackson, 42 years old, Joe Garagiola now 35, and Sewell at 41. Bo Jackson only got 2 at-bats, so I'm thinking retirement's coming pretty soon. Here are your Hall of Fame selections for 1922. Jose Guzman, the only player to get in and barely in his third year with 75.1% of the vote. You need at least 75% to get selected. Andy Pettitte really close in his fourth year, and same with Giovanni Gallardo. Dropping off the ballot because he's been on 10 years now. Lenny Dykstra, he got my vote every year, but obviously not a good enough career for the AI managers. Also dropping off, we've got Bruce Hurst, Will Clark, and Terrence Long, all in their first year of eligibility. Let's head off now to the first year player draft and find out where the Expos will pick. I don't think they were part of the draft lottery. They finished a little too good to get into the bottom 5. Draft lottery is announced. Detroit Tigers keep their number 1 position, followed by Cleveland, the Yankees, and the Reds, who lose out, dropping from number 2 to number 4. We are ready for the next draft. Here are the top projected picks, and we see some big names. Lou, Ogilvy, another Alou, Ryan Sandberg, Miguel Tejada. Oh boy, this is going to be a studded draft, and we pick number 8. Looking at the mock draft, of course, Lou is projected to go number 1 to Detroit, and we are projected to get shortstop Miguel Tejada, who, honestly, if he falls to us, he may be the pick. Let's go ahead and get on to the draft. All right, summing up to our pick, the draft log. Actually, Lou went number 2, Bobby Wallace, the pitcher. In a surprise move, they go with pitching rather than hitting. I think I would have went with the reputation, 18-year-old Lou. We'll see how that works out in the long run. Montreal is now up, and let's see who's still on the board. In terms of batters, Matty Alou, Elvin Dark, Miguel Tejada is there. Again, we look at defense, Dan Johnson, but he's a first baseman. Contact, Matty Alou looks really good. Plays the corner outfield position. Elvin Dark, another shortstop, got a lot of developing. He's already 23 years old. And then there's Miguel Tejada. Let's take a quick look at the pitchers. See who is available, although we don't really need pitching help unless someone really jumps out. Don't know if I'm going to take a pitcher. No, I think we're going to go with one of the two shortstops. Either going to go with Elvin Dark. No, I'm going to go with the mock draft. Let's go with Miguel Tejada. Next up, we're going to go with Derek Bell, the only batter here all green in the four major categories other than K potential. But again, players didn't strike out a lot back then. So we're going to go with Derek Bell. And then with our third round pick, again, I'm only going to show you guys the top three picks for Montreal. We're going to go with maybe Travis Jackson, although we just drafted a shortstop. Who else looks good in potential ratings? Mitch Garver can hit a few home runs. The highest contact, though, is Chipper Flynn. So you know what? We're going to go with Chipper Flynn. First base, right field eligibility. And let's continue on to beginning of next season. Here we are, opening day 1923. A quick look at our system right here. Did move a couple guys up into the major leagues and moved a few other farm players around. Just looking at a couple of our high-end prospects. Look at Pud Galvin, 19 years old. He had a huge development year last year in rookie. Glad we kept him in rookie. We're moving him up to AA ball now. I think he can handle it. And Joe Blong was the other stud pitcher, still progressing his stuff. Remember, it was at 50 when we drafted him. It's up to 70. So at bare minimum right now, he's a 70 pitcher with 80 stamina. He will be moving up to AAA next year. So in terms of new players coming in, we are going with a three-man rotation now. We're going to go with Al Atkinson, 33 years old, making his major league debut. Scott Stratton, 33, and Ed Walsh at 27. Should be okay with 5 in the bullpen for this era. And in terms of our hitters, again, you see our lineup here, pretty familiar. Shugart, Molitor, Raines, Griffey Jr., Whitey Lockman, John Morrill, Nick Markakis, and Hank Majeski. Not a lot of movement in our starting lineup. Still a lot of the guys that have been here for a long time. If we go by draft year, Joe Sewell, 41, still on the team. Bo Jackson, 42. So the game does not want to retire some of these older gentlemen yet. Paul Molitor is the eldest starting player at the age of 37. All right, here we go. Let's see what the Expos have for us in 1923. The season is over and Montreal had a really good year. We were in first place right up until the beginning of September, and then the wheels fell off and we went on a few losing streaks and we fell 7 games back. Congratulations, New York Giants, Boston Red Sox are your playoff contenders in 1923. Let's find out who is going to take the World Series. And a best of 7 in 7 games will go to the Boston Red Sox. Congratulations to the Red Sox. It was not the Washington Senators this time. And again, we will go and take a look at all the award winners. We'll take a quick peek at how the Expos did individually. And then we'll go on to the next draft. All right, in terms of our pitching, 28-16 for Scott Stratton. Al Atkinson in his first year struggled. And Ed Walsh had a decent year going 500, 21-21. I don't think we're going to pick up any awards in terms of our pitching. In terms of our batters, we had John Morrill again have a good season, 307. What a great, great player, only 23 years old, only going to get better, I would think. Tim Raines finished with a 362. Way to go, Tim Raines. Stolen bases, he had 7. He was caught stealing 23 times, so he's got to work on that stealing a little bit. Also, we have 296 for Whitey Lockman. And when we look at Whitey Lockman's stats, that is his lowest yet. He's never been under 300. A little bit concerning. He's only 26 years old. Paul Molitor, again, I think for the second year in a row, has hit 312. Yeah, he's been really reliable player for many, many, many years. In terms of our oldest players, Joe Sewell got in 89 at-bats, hit 382. Fantastic for a 42-year-old. Juan Pierre. And I don't see a couple of our other players. So let's go to the retirement screen. And Expos retiring, Bo Jackson. Career average of 279, 2,736 hits, and he reached the milestone of 100 home runs. And for the mainly Deadball Era, he got 100. Wow, I'm glad he did, because I would have been disappointed if I didn't give him any playing time to get that 100th home run. In fact, he got it a few seasons ago. Only had, again, 2 at-bats. Well, Bo, you are a Hall of Famer to me. We'll see when you end up on the Hall of Fame ballot if you get selected. So again, congratulations to the Boston Red Sox for taking it in 7 games with a 3-2 victory in Game 7. And look at this, maybe our most exciting World Series yet. 19 innings. The fans in Boston must have been going crazy. 19 innings. Let's check out the game log if it even shows me the game log. No, it does not show me the game log. Was not a home run. Home run was hit in the 12th inning. Wow. 7-game series. What a close series. 8-1, 6-5, 8-5, 4-3. Was that extra innings? No, it was not. 6-4, 6-2, and then the 19-inning game. Barney McCoskey, 22-year-old, drafted in the first round, 15th pick overall, is your World Series MVP. Well, that is exciting. All right, let's go take a look at the, what do we want here? We want the league history. There's Boston, ending the 4-year reign of the Washington Senators in the World Series. And we'll see if they show up there again next year. I wonder if their 2 players retired. Ty Cobb and Dan Brothers. He's still there, and Ty Cobb is still there. 34-year-old for Cobb and 40-year-old for Dan Brothers. Okay, let's go back and take a look at the awards. In the AL, the MVP was George Gore. George, 27 years old, drafted in the first round, first pick overall for George Gore, and that was back in 1916. Your Cy Young winner goes to Van Mungo. Van Mungo, drafted 4th overall back in the 1920 draft, 21 years old, probably a few Cy Youngs still to come. Barney McCoskey, the World Series MVP, is also your Rookie of the Year. Barney having a big year. And Max Lanier, second Reliever of the Year award, finishing with 18 saves and a 5-5 record for Cleveland, drafted 3rd round. So they found a gem a little bit later in the draft. All right, let's go check out if the Expos take home any hardware. We've got the MVP going to Cecil Cooper. Cecil, first round pick, 2nd overall back in 1916. Your MVP pitching wise, your Cy Young winner for the 4th time. Congratulations, 28-16, Scott Stratton. 7 WAR. Wow, what is his overall record? Oh yeah, he's on a Hall of Fame pace. And again, we took him instead of Shohei Ohtani back in, I believe it was 1910, 1906. Yeah, we took him as a 17-year-old, 4th overall. What a great pick. Dave Parker, 22 years old, is your Rookie of the Year, drafted in the 2nd round, number 5 pick. And Lou Fine, your reliever of the year. 7-6 record, 13 saves. Congratulations. But the big news is Bo Jackson has retired from the Expos. And if you recall, Bo Jackson was drafted 6th round, 81st overall, a potential Hall of Fame player we got in the 6th round. Probably our biggest draft steal yet. All right, we are going to sim ahead to the draft. Let's find out. Again, we will not have a... actually, we got to go to the Hall of Fame first, so we'll sim ahead to the Hall of Fame. We'll see you there. All right, Hall of Fame 1924 ballots are in, and we've got 2 new inductees into the Hall of Fame. First year ballot, Jack Manning, who played his entire career for the New York Giants. Player that was drafted 8th overall back in the 1901 draft, the very first draft. Gets into the Hall. First year on the ballot. And catcher Emile Gross, playing for the Boston Americans. Long career. He's been here since 1902 when he was drafted 5th overall in that same 1901 draft. So very good. A couple inaugural players breaking into the league young in that first year, and then making it to the Hall of Fame. Dropping off the ballot, you see all the players here that are now off the ballot. No one really of note. I don't see any Montreal Expos there. And Andy Pettitte was 0.6 away. Randy Wolf was very close, so probably one or both of those will get in next year. Okay, time to go to this year's draft. Again, Montreal has, pretty okay pick. I don't think we're in the draft lottery, and you can see that we were pretty successful in a couple areas for the overall leaderboard last season. Ken Griffey Jr. was 3rd in home runs, as he should be, and Tim Raines was 5th in total hits, and Frank Schugart led the league in at-bats. John Morrell hitting for a .432 on-base percentage. And Tim Raines was also .362, 3rd in the league in average. So a couple of the players we had high hopes on are starting to perform for Montreal in this baseball glory days, I guess, when we start to see some home runs. 22 was the league record this year. All right, to the draft we go. Let's find out who won the draft lottery first of all. Moving up a spot, the Chicago Cubs. Is Shohei Ohtani still playing on the Cubs? The player that we passed up on to take Scott Stanton. Is he still here? Shohei Ohtani. I do not see him anywhere on the Cubs. Let's do a quick search here. He is retired. Oh, so Scott Stanton is still pitching. You see, he didn't pitch much in the last 4 years. So he pitched actually 3 seasons, or he retired 3 seasons ago. Do not regret that. We almost got him. We were 1 pick away from getting him in the 2nd round, but glad I didn't take him with that 4th overall pick. All right, also, who else moved up in the draft? Detroit moved up 1. Chicago White Sox are the bigger losers. They dropped down a couple, and Cincinnati stays at number 4. All right, mock draft. Montreal Expos have us picking number 11. Al Pratt is the player targeted to us, and looks like he is the 2nd best starting pitcher. Not sure I'd take him. I think we're looking for a hitter this draft. In terms of names, Carl Furillo, Bill Dallin, Amos Otis, Bert Campaneris. I don't see, any of the big hitters in this draft here. Miguel Sano, Vernon Wells is there. But not like last year where we had quite a few star players. All right, let's do this. Let's go to the 1924 draft. Montreal will pick Here you see the players that went early, and on the board for Montreal, we're going to just focus on batters. Looks like Amos Otis, based on potential. So I've got the potential, not the current showing. I'm more concerned about potential. Fred Snodgrass looks like he might be okay too. So if we look at all the numbers here, a lot of green for Amos. Snodgrass again looks pretty good. Got some speed. Miller Huggins if we want some defense at second base. Not much of a bat though. Yeah, I think we're going to go Amos Otis. Jesse Barfield. Ooh. Can I pass up on the Blue Jay? I think I will. If he's still there next round, we're going for Jesse Barfield. Check out the draft log and a couple Blue Jays. Vernon Wells goes second round, second pick, and Jesse Barfield is still there. So was Snodgrass went recently too. So we're going to go Jesse Barfield. Look at this. At the top of the list, he's got the highest power, tied with Miguel Sano. Sano is a little bit better eye. That avoid K's. Ouch. You know what? I'm going to go. We're fast simming this. Let's go Jesse Barfield. And one more pick that we'll show on stream. Let's take a look at the pitchers. Anything of value there? Bert Husting. Might be okay for a fourth round pick. I doubt he'll be there though. And in terms of hitters, kind of want guys with eye, not worried about power. Maybe Billy Rogel. Yeah, we're going to go Billy Rogel. He looks like he might be the best still listed. Let's start off this 1924 season with a prospect report update. Here are your top 10. Bobby Wallace, Austin McHenry, Carl Furillo, Lou is there, Bert Doer, Murphy, Pratt, Otto, Dallin, and Pappas are your top 10. No Montreal Expos in the top 10 prospect list. And our opening day roster, this is what we're looking at. 3 starters, Stratton, Walsh, and Atkinson. Same as last year. No changes in the bullpen other than removing one person. We're only going to go with 7 pitchers, Collins, Brown, Bushelman, and Baldwin. See how that works out. We're going to stack our batters a little bit more. Here is our starting lineup. Frank Schugert, Paul Molitor, Tim Raines, Ken Griffey Jr., John Morrell, and Whitey Lockman, Nick Markakis, and Hank Majeski. Again, not many changes to our starters. Did bring in a few rookies. Clipper Flynn, 21 years old, fully developed now. Going to give him a shot on the bench here. And also Lars Nootbaar is coming in, 25 years old. He's been in the minors for 4 or 5 seasons now, 1 in AA, 4 in AAA. So we're going to give him a shot on the bench. And I believe I brought back one more, or Norris Hooper we brought in, 28 years old. He's paid his dues a few years in the minor leagues. So as a 28-year-old who hit 342 last year in AAA, and he started the season 381 this year. Yeah, he deserves a shot in the major leagues. And I think Patsy Donovan was the other player I brought up from AA or AAA. And he's been on Montreal most of his career, but thought I'd bring him up. We had one more position open, and again, he hit 311 in AAA. He's 38 years old. Let's see if we can get him a few more milestones. Currently, what's he have? 292 hits. Maybe we get him to 300. Maybe we can get him his first home run in the major leagues, and let's try and get him to 100 RBIs. All right, let's go ahead and sim to the end of the season. 1924 season has ended. As you can see, Montreal Expos, again, kind of a middle of the pack team, 79 and 75. We were flirting with first place a little bit. We've got within a couple games during the season. And once September hit, again, we just kind of fell apart and dropped in the standings. You can see we went 3-7 in the last 10 games. So congratulations to the New York Yankees and the Pittsburgh Pirates. similar records. They're going to face off in the 1924 World Series. Big letdown for the Washington Senators as well. Dan Brothers is still there, 41-year-old that hit .310. Not sure if he's going to get the MVP this year. He's got 10 already. But yeah, very good season for Pittsburgh and for the Yankees. Before we go ahead and sim through the World Series, let's take a look at our stats. Scott Stratton, positive win rate. Ed Walsh, positive. Both had ERAs under 4. Al Atkinson, again, he's just kind of like a guy that should be mop-up. He shouldn't be a starter. Next year, it'll be a little bit different because we got someone good coming in. And in terms of our hitters, you can see kind of some of the statistics here. Paul Molitor, another good season. We have 320 hit by Ken Griffey Jr. with 16 home runs. 353 for Tim Raines. What a player he is turning out to be. Tim Raines, 353 this year, 362, 316 in his rookie year. And here's a player we took in the first round, 4th overall. And quite honestly, I thought he'd be okay, but I didn't expect him to be this good. Some of our other hitters, John Morrell hit 285, Frank Schugart 290, and even some of our bench guys. We got Norris Hopper, who hit 313 coming off the bench, the 28-year-old, getting his major league debut this year. Lars Nootbaar, he hit 353 in very limited play. So again, the guys that are getting a little bit of a taste of Major League Baseball are performing well. On the other end of things, Patsy Donovan didn't get many opportunities. He did score a couple runs in only 2 at-bats. Anyone else, 148 for Lee McGee, probably going to be on his way out. Back down to the minors. Didn't really show much in his limited play. And when we look at our players coming up in the system, we've got Joe Blong, Pud Galvin, just waiting in AAA. This is our first year in AAA. Joe Blong, the player that we took 14th overall, he was still there. And he's ready to go. Next season, he'll be in the major leagues as a 23-year-old. Yep, he's ready to pitch. He is going to replace Al Atkinson as our one of our 3 starters. And also Pud Galvin. Look at this. He is completely developed too. Took a while. I think we drafted him a couple years ago, 4 years ago, and he was our 10th pick overall. Drafted him as a closer, hoping he would bring that stamina up a little bit, like in real life. But he just may be our go-to bullpen guy. And even in AA, a couple players we drafted in the last draft. Jesse Barfield hit 316 in AA. He'll be ready to go to AAA next year. Miguel Tejada hit 336. He's going to move up to AAA. And Derek Bell, we'll see, at 358. He's probably ready for AAA, but still has some developing to go. Well, let's find out who wins the 1924 World Series. Congratulations to the Pittsburgh Pirates for their 3rd World Series title in this series. They've spaced them apart pretty good, winning back in 1902, winning in 1915, and this year 1924. The New York Yankees have been recipients of 0 World Series wins. They've been in the World Series only 2 times and lost both of them. Well, awards. Always like to look at the awards. Who were the best players in the league this season? George Gore, for the 2nd year in a row, the 28-year-old will win the MVP for the Philadelphia Athletics. Gene Schott is going to pick up his 2nd Cy Young as a 38-year-old. He's been in the league pretty much from the beginning. 2nd overall pick back in the 1906 draft. Congratulations, Gene. Willie Castro is your Rookie of the Year, 5th round pick 4 years ago. And doesn't really have the best profile, but he hit 360. Willie Castro hit 360 with that profile. And Benj Sampson is your reliever of the year, picking up 21 saves, a 12-4 record with the Chicago White Sox. Wow, pretty impressive. And he was picked in the 5th round. So a couple of later round picks, picking up Rookie of the Year and the reliever of the year. I'm curious in terms of the average for that one player. Did he make it here? Franco, was it? Who's it? Julio Franco? No, I don't think he's on there. Probably not quite high average enough. Gore, there he is. George Gore. Wow, what a season. All right, let's go and take a look at the National League. Did any Montreal Expos win any awards? Christian Yelich, 29-year-old, second back-to-back MVP. George Davies, second Cy Young for the 38-year-old, first overall pick, 1907. There is his record there. 304 wins. At some point, we're going to have to take a look at league records. Wonder if that's the highest, 304. So congratulations to George Davies. Bill Gogolewski is your Rookie of the Year as a 31-year-old. Wow, drafted 9th overall back in the 1913 draft. And he's first year in the league. Only 94 plate appearances, so he didn't really get tested much for Rookie of the Year. And Camilo Pascual is your reliever of the year, 11-6, 2.17 ERA with 17 saves and a 1.3 WAR. So Montreal Expos shut out of the awards this year, shut out of the playoffs, but Boog Fowler, he's playing pretty well. Going to move him up to AAA next year. Well, it's time. Let's go find out who makes the Hall of Fame. Once again, we have two players that make the Hall of Fame, Greg Jeffries and Curly Foley, with over 90% on their first ballot. This Hall of Fame selection committee chose those two, and dropping out after 10 years on the ballot, Johnny Markham, probably the highest. He got about 18%. We still did not get Andy Pettitte. He dropped a little bit. He was very, very close last year, and now he's dropped down to 66%. Also, Logan Webb, Antonelli, Cody Allen, Devers, John Riley, and Oberholzer off the ballot. Almost at the end of the episode, so let's do our skill testing question right now. List any of the players that you currently see on the Hall of Fame voting results. Pick one of these, put it in the chat. Make sure it's not a duplicate. Put a name that no one else has put. And the deadline for this will be again on Saturday, November the 18th. That's when I will make the draw on my live stream with the Rocky Mountain Gladiators. So again, you have just about a week to get your entry form in. No rush. Again, a little bit of a longer episode. Thank you guys for hanging in there, and good luck in the draw. Well, let's take a look at the Hall of Fame now. Now that we have a bunch of members, let's take a nice little look at who is in there. Pete Brown. I love how OOTP does this. Not many people go and look at this screen, but every once in a while I like to look, especially when I'm doing franchise play. And Montreal Expos, who are, again, the Boston team. So they see the Boston logo there. Roy Halladay. Any other Boston/Montreal? That's it. So we have, 3, 6, 9, 12, about 14 players so far. And a lot of players in real life that made the Hall of Fame. Good stuff. Love to see it. Anything else that we can see here in terms of records? Let's find out who holds some of the records as we end off this episode here. Single season, career. Let's take a look at the hitters first of all. Ty Cobb, batting average, 340. Still playing the game as a 36-year-old. Dan Brothers, I would expect him to see him here. Yeah, he has 3,318 games played to lead most runs. He's got the most doubles. He's got the most home runs at 165 in a career. And also the best wins above replacement at 166 WAR. You think he'll get into the Hall of Fame as a first ballot? I'm telling you, AI managers, if you don't unanimously put him in, there's going to be some trouble. Stolen bases, Mike Griffin, who we talked about early in the series, he has the record for most stolen bases, 1,953 in his career. And I honestly don't know if that's going to be beat. Look at his stolen bases. Quite the career he's had on the base path. In terms of pitching, some career pitches, wins. Okay, I was a little bit off. It is our pitcher, Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy leads quite a bit of categories. Ted Kennedy, Michael Pineda. We've got Scott Stratton, who has the most home runs allowed. Best WAR for pitchers is John Ward. Makes sense, Ward. There you go, Ted Kennedy. I thought he made the Hall of Fame. See in here, Ted Kennedy. There he is. Yes, we have two. We have two pitchers in the Hall of Fame. There you go. I think the Giants or Yankees look like they have a couple. St. Louis has a couple. And yeah, that's it. So we'll see who the first team is to get 3 Hall of Famers. So yeah, always good, cool to look at the records a little bit. Evolution as the league evolves, they'll kind of keep track there. What else do we want to look at here for records? Postseason. Dan Brothers. Any Expos? Doesn't look like it. We haven't been in the playoffs too often. I think we've been in 3 times. Roy Halladay, though, does have the most postseason wins with 5. And other than that, Felix Hernandez is a great postseason player. John Ward, we see his name quite a bit. And he's 45 years old. Yeah, he was elected first ballot to the Hall of Fame. So there you go. There are some records. Those are our Hall of Famers. We are going to sim ahead again to the first year player draft. And as the episode ends, put a little bit of music on as you watch the players that we draft, at least the top 3 or 4 players. Thank you guys for tuning in. And one more longer episode with some long-term sims that you're going to see next time. Chicago retains the number 1 overall slot, and we are projected to pick number 9 and Nick Johnson. Here you see some of the names. We'll see you guys next episode. Let's end off with a little bit of 1925 draft.